Hello! Welcome back to the channel and hope you're having a good Christmas holidays wherever you are in the world. I thought that I would buy myself an early Christmas present, and that is a scratch map. Oh my god. Oh, my arm is dead. There's a few reasons why I wanted to do this. The first one is in doing this, will find out exactly how many countries I've actually traveled to, because I'm not the kind of person to count countries. I don't think that's very productive. In doing this, I think we'll not only find out how many countries and continents we've covered in my life, but it'll help me sort of set goals for the future, because this is going to be quite eye-opening in terms of how many countries I've traveled to or haven't traveled to. Now, when it comes to scratching countries off, there is a debate online. If you have just been to, let's say, Moscow for a week, does that mean you can cross off the entire country of Russia? The answer is yes. Because the whole point of a scratch map is to sort of feed your ego, make you feel better about your life, and show the world how many countries you've traveled to. Of course, for example, in the US, I've only been to 4 states, but I will be crossing off the entire United States because it will look awesome. So I'm on that side of the debate. I think if you've been to a country for at least 24 hours, you can scratch off that country, regardless if you've been to every corner or not. Because it would just look really weird if we just scratched off regions, I think. And I just want to kind of scratch it off as much as possible so it looks colourful and looks nice in my house. And I also think it'll be a fun little exercise and you might get to know me a little bit better. But before we start scratching some countries off, I just want to say a big thank you to the sponsor of today's video, NordVPN. Whether you're going to be travelling to any country in the world, or even if you just want to stay safe online in your home country, then you definitely need a VPN, and NordVPN is the one that I've been using for over 2 years now, and I think they are just fantastic. My travels over the past 12 months has taught me the importance of having NordVPN on my MacBook. Some countries and some areas, you know, certain websites are blocked, certain websites are restricted, but with one click of a button, you can change your IP address and unlock the internet sites that you're used to back home. And most importantly, if you're binge watching a series on Netflix or Disney Plus, you can then make sure by switching your IP address to your home nation, which you're used to, you'll be able to continue watching your favorite shows and movies when you're traveling. And of course, for those people interested in internet safety, NordVPN secures your connection. It keeps your online activity private, and it keeps your sensitive information extremely safe. So if you are shopping around or thinking about getting a VPN, now is the time, because NordVPN have a fantastic deal exclusive for everybody watching this video. Anyone who gets a 2-year deal will receive a 4-month bonus on top, so almost 2.5 years worth of internet protection, internet safety, and your ability to unlock your full library of content when you're on your travels, or if you just want to stay safe and secure in your home country. Make sure to use the link in the description. If you click that link, it will take you to the landing page where this deal will be enabled. And thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this section of the video. And now let's start beginning scratching off these countries. Right, let's begin. I've got my coin. I'll be using a 5 baht coin because it's the Christmas holidays and I'm here visiting my girlfriend here in Bangkok. The perfect place to begin, and we'll obviously scratch off Thailand later. But let's begin. I think the best way to do this is by continent. So let's begin in Europe, because I obviously was born in England. I was born in London. My parents are both from Newcastle. They're both Geordies. So even though I was born in London, I spent the earliest part of my life mainly in Newcastle. Then I moved back down to London and I went to primary school in a place called Strawberry Hill in London. And then I went to high school in a place called New Malden near Kingston upon Thames, if you're familiar. And then I went to university in Leeds, and after about 2 years after my graduation, that's when I really started to go international and live and, you know, mainly work and live abroad. But we'll go through that later. So let's scratch off England. I've also been to Scotland, I've been to Edinburgh a few times, I've been up to the Highlands, gorgeous part of the world, and I've been to Wales because my sister lives in Swansea, so I can scratch off Great Britain, but I am counting these as 3 separate countries because if this was the World Cup, England can play Scotland, and that means there's 2 countries, so kind of cheating on that one, but I'm British, let me off. Scotland, Wales. I haven't been to Northern Ireland, so I won't be scratching that off, but I have been to the Republic of Ireland. I've been to Dublin, and I've been played a bit of golf in Kerry, and yeah, really good memories of going to Dublin for St. Patrick's Day. That was a fun, drunken filled few days, drank a lot of Guinness, and I absolutely love the Irish, fantastic people. I know a lot of people think I'm Irish with a name like Paddy Doyle, but I'm actually just English. So when I did go to Ireland, a lot of people were like, "There's no way your name's Paddy Doyle." Sorry, the accent is terrible. What's next? Then we'll go over to Spain. I've been to Spain so many times. I've been to Barcelona, I've been to the Costa del Sol, I've been to Benidorm, I've been to the Canary Islands, I've been to Mallorca, I've been, you know, just, I think this was actually the first ever country outside of the UK that I went to, and this is where I captured my travel bug that stayed with me until even right now. I still have it. I've still got the travel bug because of this trip. I remember going on a package holiday with me, my mum, my dad, and I think my sister as well. And you know, back then you would buy it on teletext. You would find a good deal on teletext, which is this weird system that you had to press a button on your TV, and then there would be deals, and we'd find something cheap, and it would include your flights and your hotel, and that was it. You know, there was no like internet searching. You just had to kind of rely that this random piece of text was going to recommend you a nice place to go. And I think the first ever time we went somewhere, we stayed somewhere where it had a pool, and there was a Dutch couple with some Dutch children, and they were running around the pool, and me and my sister played with them, and they were speaking in Dutch, which to me was just like an alien language. And I just thought to myself, this is so cool. There are people from other countries that speak in different ways, that look different to us, and it just ignited that curiosity in me. So if it hadn't have gone to Spain as a little kid, and if I hadn't have met and played with these Dutch kids around the pool, I would never really sort of had that magic stirred in me. That was my earliest travel memory as well. So we'll cross that off. I've also been to Andorra, which is a tiny country in between Spain and France. It's basically a bunch of ski resorts, and I went there with my mum. Then obviously France. I've been to France so many times, you know, being English, it's so close to us. Eurostar, been to Paris recently, been to Disneyland. I've played golf in Biarritz and Normandy. But yeah, beautiful country, beautiful food, incredible wine, and yeah, we can scratch off France. Recently as well, I think last summer after my trip to Europe, I popped over to Belgium for the first time, and I went to Brussels to meet up with my buddies Damien and Thais, and we spent one night just exploring Brussels. So I can cross off Belgium. And Italy, been to Italy many times, from going on a little city break to Rome, which is an absolutely incredible city, one of the best cities in the whole world, just mind-blowingly gorgeous. I've been to the Dolomites recently, hiking up there, incredible part of the country, and I went skiing there a couple of times during my high school days, because in English schools we would go on trips to Hungary and we would go on trips to Italy, skiing, and then like cultural trips, and you just get on a bus, go on the Eurotunnel, drive all the way through France or Italy. Absolutely love Italy. Let's cross that off. Just north of Italy, this summer I got to cross off probably one of my most bucket list, dreamed about places to go traveling. Something that was always a distant dream, never really a reality, because I just thought that it was way too expensive to ever travel there. But thankfully, working hard on YouTube and enabling my content to pay for my travels, I ended up going to Switzerland and hiking all the way across the Alps over, I think it was 4 weeks. Absolutely incredible, beautiful part of the world. Highly recommend it. Had a great time. So let's cross off Switzerland. When I was a teenager and as a kid, I went to Greece. I think I went to Athens and a few of the Greek islands with my parents growing up, you know, just package holidays where we had to fly to Athens, get on a ferry and go to Crete and places like that. And then also when I was in university, when I was like 21, we went to a few of the Greek islands, you know, typical a week of sun, booze, sunbathing and just, you know, what 21-year-old British people do. And so yeah, let's cross off Greece. I think it's important to mention at this point as well that just because I get to scratch somewhere off doesn't mean that I don't get to go back. It's not like just because I've scratched it off and I've been there, I will never revisit a country. I've just got back from Sri Lanka for the second time. And I think there's one other country in Europe, Czechia, which used to be the Czech Republic, because we went to Prague on a few stag do's, a few of my friends back in the university days, going to breweries, drinking lots of beers, going to a few of the piazzas, not really getting to know the culture of the country, but we did get to cross it off. So that's Europe, that's one continent, and that is 12 countries down. I think I went to Portugal, but I think I was 2 years old and I don't really remember, so I'm not crossing that off. This is where we'll start to scratch off a lot of the map. And like I said before, if I've been to one region, then I can scratch off the whole country. So let's scratch off China, because I've been to Hong Kong for 4 days. It was an incredible trip. I just went on my own and I just stayed in Hong Kong in some little hostel and I spent 3 days walking around, exploring, eating. I did make a little vlog about it on one of my little channels before I started doing YouTube properly, just when I was doing videos for a hobby. And I will be going back and I would love to see more of China. I would love to go to Shanghai, Beijing and like see the sights and scratch off more of the country, literally. But because this is a fun scratch map, we get to scratch off the entire country of China because I spent 3 days in Hong Kong. I've just realized that when I went to Hong Kong, it was its own country and now it's become part of China. So that definitely shouldn't have crossed off China. But what are you gonna do? I've been to India twice. I actually spent 4 months, the first time, in the south, in a place called Kerala. And then I went on a big little motorbike trip, actually, years before my channel. I did make a few videos again on my little passion project channel that doesn't really exist anymore, but loved that trip and that really opened my eyes to what Indian culture is really like and other areas that most tourists go. I was kind of immersed in a Muslim family where I lived with the family for 4 months and I volunteered in a school and I taught primary kids, and that really enabled some of my skill sets as a teacher to develop. And then I went back a couple of years later with the budgeteers and we did northern India and Delhi and Rajasthan up to the Himalayas and had a fantastic time. India is a wild, crazy place. I don't have any plans to go there anytime soon, just because I've been a few times, it's quite intense. But never say never, I could revisit India soon. I know it's really good for YouTube. You see a lot of YouTubers go to India and blow up because of the population and they're very engaged when it comes to YouTube. And those things tend to help your channel grow in numbers, but I just don't really fancy it at the minute. I think I want to try different things. We'll see, I don't know. I'm not saying never, never, but anyway, what a wonderful, colourful, crazy country. So let's cross it off. The little island underneath India, the gorgeous, beautiful country nation of Sri Lanka. I've been there twice, most recently just a few months ago when I was invited to drive the first ever electric tuk-tuk at Tuk Tuk Rental. Had a great 4 weeks there, was it? No, I was only there for I was there for 12 days. I tried to condense my trip to a very concise period of time to force myself to be extremely productive, and I was trying to figure out how can I film a great trip in a short space of time, because up until then I've been going away for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and it's just a bit tiring. So that trip was really good. and taught me a lot about how to be efficient when filming. Love Sri Lanka, what a great country. Let's scratch it off together. Next door, pretty much, is the country of Myanmar or Burma, and I went there, God, maybe 5 years ago now. I went there with a guy called Steve, and we went to some beautiful places, and we had 2 or 3 weeks of so much fun. And I did make some videos about Myanmar on the Budgeteers channel. Beautiful country, fantastic people, and I know politically they're going through a lot recently, so I think they're starting to reopen. I would love to revisit, because that country is hands down just an absolute sleeper of a travel destination, and magical place. So let's scratch it off. And of course, right next to Myanmar, my beloved favorite country, not just to travel to, but to experience and to live in, because I've spent 8 years of my life living in this country, teaching in this country, and now I live here on and off between my travels, and that is of course Thailand. This is where I went traveling with my mate Dave, and then I dragged 6 of my friends to go traveling there the next year. And I just, at that point, decided, okay, how can I live in this country? I love the food, I love the people, I love the lifestyle. I think it's just the perfect place to live, and it has been my happy place ever since. You know, it's funny, I thought Thailand was the best country in the world before I visited every single province. And then when I was doing that trip, the first year of this channel, on dreamy, going to province, hitting all 77 provinces and dozens of islands, it really just confirmed the status of Thailand being the best country in the world. I can't speak higher enough of this place. So long may it continue, and khop khap to the Thai people. Next up is just, let's go straight south to Malaysia. Let's cross it off and I'll tell you a fun story. The first few times I went to Malaysia was just on border visa runs when I was a teacher. The first few years of my time in Thailand, we had to keep leaving to, like, you know, get the non-B or the whatever visa, I can't remember now. So we went to Penang and Georgetown quite often, and that was cool. But then going to Kuala Lumpur for the first time with Thais when we made series 1 of the Budgeteers, and we stayed with AJ, a fantastic Malaysian local. We stayed in his house and we ate food together. And I've been to the Malaysian islands of Perhentians, and gorgeous, crystal clear, beautiful diving and things like that. I actually lived in the Perhentian Islands and worked on a bar for a summer with my mate Dave during one of our big Asia trips. And obviously most recently I went over to the Borneo side of Malaysia and hiked up Mount Kinabalu and had some great adventures, saw some wildlife, and so we can also cross off the northern part of Borneo, and now we can actually scratch off the southern part of Borneo and the whole of Indonesia, because I've been to Bali, I've been to Lombok, I've been to a few of the different islands on separate older trips. What a fantastic, beautiful, amazing country. I do have plans to go to other parts of Indonesia. I was really close to going to Sumatra and Java earlier this year, but in the end I decided to go to Sri Lanka instead. Somewhere that I went to at the beginning of 2023 was the Philippines. I knew going into this trip that the Philippines was going to give us colour, it was going to give us fun, and that's exactly what happened when we went there. And we had a very interesting experience, 5 weeks going across quite a lot of the country, hiking mountains, swimming in the reefs, you know, just crystal clear waters, friendly locals, and yeah, a great little country the Philippines was. So let's scratch that country off together. Just north of the Philippines is Taiwan, and what an incredible little island this is. I've been there with my friend Damien. We did a little loop around the whole country, hitchhiking, having adventures, we hiked up mountains, and we just had loads of adventure. What a great little country Taiwan is. Great food, great people, and it's just awesome. So let's scratch Taiwan off. Coming back over to Southeast Asia mainland, we've got the Indochina countries of Vietnam, Cambodia and Laos. I've been to all three many times on this channel. We went to Cambodia in January of this year. Laos, what a sleeper of a country. Small, landlocked, but incredibly beautiful. And then we've got the beast that is Vietnam. And I've been again 2 or 3 times, but this last couple of years, I went and did it properly, north to south. From the very north to the very south. I didn't quite make it to the very south. If you watch the series, I started to fatigue, basically. And what a country Vietnam is. Beautiful, fragrant, a little bit stressful, but I will be going back to both Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia, but we can scratch them all off together because it's a nice little chunk of land. And then I think that's everything in Southeast Asia done. Brunei is the only country that I haven't been to in Southeast Asia, right? Unless there's something glaringly obvious that I'm missing. The last country in Asia, I believe, looking at my list, is South Korea. Yes, South Korea. I recently went with my beautiful girlfriend and we went to Seoul, had a week there, and we went down to Busan and had a few days there. Beautiful country, great food, great markets, clean, friendly, safe, beautiful Korea. South Korea. So that's 2 continents, Europe and Asia. Looking at Asia, I can see Nepal and Bhutan. They are dying to get crossed off. Bangladesh, and then of course Japan, Mongolia, Central Asia, the Maldives. There's a lot to see. But we've got a lot of time. Let's move on to the next continent, which is Oceania. Now, some people call it Australia as the continent. There's even talk that New Zealand, Zealandia, is now a new continent, but that's not happening. In my eyes, I think we can just concentrate on Oceania as this general area of Australia, New Zealand, and all of the Pacific Islands. I've lived in Australia for 2 years of my life. I lived in Sydney and I travelled up to Queensland and did road trips, and I worked on farms. That's where I met Thais from the Budgeteers. I worked in a restaurant in Sydney. I worked in a Chinese restaurant called Mr. Wong's. Mr. Wong's was awesome. It was a very fun, busy restaurant, and I just worked as a bartender and made an absolute fortune in cash and tips and wages. You could make a lot of money just as a bartender in Australia. Loved that country, and road tripping around the East Coast really opened my eyes to just how beautiful that country is. Really unbelievably gorgeous, and a huge landmass. Oh, it's blue! 3 continents down, let's go to our 4th one, which is North America. Now, I have only been to 4 US states. Let me tell you about each trip. So Hawaii, I went to Hawaii recently, about 5 years ago. And then on mainland USA, I've been to California. In series 2 of the Budgeteers, we began by exploring Los Angeles and San Diego before we started going south. I didn't really like California, to be honest. It's a bit of a broken place from a society perspective. 70,000 homeless people, and yes, beautiful mansions and the luxury superficial side to it, but not for me. California is not worth visiting. I loved, however, going to Colorado and Nebraska. I used to go to Colorado and Nebraska when I was a kid. Me, my mum, my dad, and my sister, we would go there. My mum had a pen pal from Nebraska, and we would go visit them, and then we would road trip over to the neighboring state of Colorado, up into the mountains, and stay in a place called Estes Park. And I think we did that 3 or 4 summers in a row. Maybe we missed a couple, but we would go there as a kid, as children, and really enjoy the nature, the people. We can cross off the United States. Now we're going to be crossing off a lot of countries, because that trip I was just talking to you about, where me and Thais and Lena started a trip in Los Angeles, we actually hitchhiked all the way from Los Angeles to Panama. So we went through almost all of the countries in Central America. So what a great trip that was. If you haven't seen series 2 of the Budgeteers, I will link it below. It is one of the craziest adventures I've ever done in my entire life. Hitchhiking with $1,000 to our name all the way from LA to Panama. 9 countries, I think it is. 4,000 kilometers. Just a wild experience and full of highlights. So let's cross off that big chunk of land. Again, just because I've crossed it off doesn't mean I won't be going back, especially Mexico. Absolutely love Mexico. So that's our 4th continent down. Let's move on to South America, the continent that I went to just 2 weeks ago. A week ago I got back. What a flight. 39 hours it took me to get home. Now, here's the exception. I did go to Brazil, but you'll see in the video where we visit Iguazu Falls, we just went to Brazil to get a helicopter to go look at the waterfalls from the sky. And because that was less than 24 hours, I'm not including Brazil as a country, which is a shame because it would look nice to be able to cross off one of the biggest countries in the world. But I haven't been there for more than a few hours. It doesn't count. But Chile, what a beautiful place. I can't wait to share with you my experiences in Santiago and in southern Chile in the mountains of Patagonia. And in Argentina, a fantastic experience in Buenos Aires. Honestly, as you'll see, I think I have a whole video on Buenos Aires. Such a livable, beautiful city. Can't wait to share those videos in January next year. So let's cross off the 2 countries that I've visited in South America. And last, but by no means least, is a place not many people have had the privilege to say that they've seen, traveled to, let alone scratch off on a map, and that is the continent of Antarctica. Now, obviously, I haven't been to the entire continent. I've only been to the peninsula, this area here, and you'll see in the videos coming in January or maybe February, I'm not quite sure, out of this world place, and that is Antarctica. Can't wait for you to see those videos. They're coming very soon. Yeah, I wonder what color it's gonna be. I'm gonna say purple. Let's see what it is. This is gonna take me a while because it takes half of the bloody map because of the way they stretch countries on a map like this. But we've been to Antarctica. Can you believe it? I'm still getting over that fact. Oh, it's white. Oh my God. Oh, my arm is dead. So, we're finished. That is a total of 6 continents and 37 countries. Antarctica is not a country really, but what can I class it as? So I'm counting it as a country and a continent. So, I have traveled to 37 countries, 6 continents. But now that I've actually sat there and made a little spreadsheet and scratched them off with you, 37, I don't know, it doesn't sound like very many, does it? Especially for someone who travels full time and has been traveling for so many years since I was a kid. And being European and having a passport and being British and traveling a lot as a kid, I think in order to count more countries, if I wanted to get to 50, I really have to tackle Africa and do a few trips there. I've never been to the continent of Africa, which is absolutely outrageous, and so that needs to be addressed. But actually looking at it, it looks nice. What I like about my scratch map is that I've been able to scratch off a lot of the regions of the world. It's not just in the middle, it's all over the map, which is quite pleasing. And I can see some spots that I need to scratch off next year, at least. And that was quite a fun little exercise. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. My arm is a little bit sore after all that scratching for Antarctica, but yeah, what a great little activity to do. Whether you celebrate Christmas or not, have a great day, have a great end of December, end of the year. Let me know what you're getting up to as well, and maybe I'll see you here because I'm going to be in Bangkok for Christmas, and then in the new year I'm going back to the UK for a bit to see the fam and to relax and take my girlfriend for the first time to see the UK, and you might see a snippet of that in a future video as well. Thanks for watching as always, and have a great Christmas. Bye.